interrupt your program to bring you this important podcast. How to 911.
Can you put me out of service on a podcast, please?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Starting over because I didn't plug in the microphone, so sorry. You missed out on a thankfully, like, only 15 seconds was recorded before I was like, there's something wrong.
Wait a second. I'd probably cry if we had to start over.
Again, like we had to several times before.
13th time's a charm.
I keep wanting to say about how magnificent our intro is once I get it put together. But we have a very kind person to lend his voice to the intro, and makes me sure happy.
It warms my heart.
It warms everybody's heart. I hope you enjoy it as much as we do, because you have to listen to it more than I do, hopefully.
Yeah. Because you've subscribed, right?
You've subscribed to our podcast.
Because we talk good.
We are trusted with phone calls constantly. It's fine. This is going to be a common thing for us, so get used to it. We're not a disaster always. Anyways, I'm Sami.
And I'm Erica.
Wow. Woo!
That's right, woo!
Have you seen that video with this guy? He's in the car and he just goes, woo! And then he's got his dog and his dog goes, woo!
Oh my
It's so cute. I'm going to have to show it to you.
Yes.
Anyways, if you guys know what I'm talking about, tag Erica in it if you can find her on social media. Yeah. I can't even find her, so good luck.
If you can, then you
are weird and creepy.
Are one of my friends. And you already...
Or you're one of her friends.
Or you're weird and creepy and my friend.
She does not discriminate. So today we, as I said in the last episode, are discussing a hot topic that I want you to be aware of, because it's something that I don't think people realize affect a 911 center as much as it actually does, which is 911 hang-ups. You know, you don't think about it. It happens a lot. They happen more often than they probably should. So that's why we're having this episode, to educate you about it.
And what is a 911 hang-up?
You know, it's all this fancy talk that we just shorten things to make it make sense to us. A 911 hang-up is essentially like one of two things. You either called 911 or somehow noticed that it was dialing 911 and you're sitting there with your finger touching your screen like, hang up, hang up, hang up, hang up.
Don't connect.
And it connects whether you like it or not, because it's 911 and it's an emergency service, and your phone is basically being like, you can't cancel me because you're dying. So it's going to get to us even if you think you caught it in time or not.
Always, it will always connect.
Right. So that comes into us as what we like to call as an abandoned 911, which means it didn't ring on our end. It was disconnected before it reached our phone lines, essentially.
Yeah.
So then the other type is when it reaches our center, it reaches our phones, we hit that cool button that answers the phone, and either it's an open line for a second because you're like, I don't know what to do, or you catch it just as we're answering it and hang up. Either way, you hung up on us. So that's essentially what the other version of a 911 hang up is. So this happens a lot, especially with lately with new phones, with new Apple Watches or the other versions of watches that are coming out. I'm so sorry, I have so much spit in my mouth. I'm trying so hard not to spit at you. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I appreciate you trying not to.
Anyways, so these cool smartphones that we have these cool safety features that if I don't know how it works because I don't have like an Apple Watch or anything, but you have to like push the button or something too many times and it automatically calls into 911. I know with iPhones, at least I've almost accidentally done it, is you like push the power button too many times in a row and it like literally sounds like a awful alarm. It's like wah, wah, and you're like, what is going on? And it's like calling into 911 and it's like, you have 3 seconds to cancel. So
yikes.
At least that's what happened to me when I called in. It might have changed because that was a few years ago, because I know now if you go to power down your iPhone, it has emergency SOS on the screen, and you can slide Should I try it out right now?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, guys.
So yeah, you can do it that way. If I'm gonna try it the other way just to see what happens.
Okay.
Oh, yep.
Oh.
That's what happens. Yep, I just pushed the power button a lot of times, and it started to do that. So that's how Apple phones
there
work.
you go.
Makes that awful noise. So that makes you aware of what's going on. That happens a lot, like in pockets. Like that power button can get pushed a lot, and takes me more than 3 seconds to get stupid thing out of my pocket.
Right, in purses and yeah.
I don't know how other devices work, so kind of familiarize yourself with your device. If you don't know how to do it, don't test it out like I just did. Thankfully, I'm right across a glass window where I can be like, hey guys.
It's me.
It's me. But don't do that. If anything, just Google, say, I have this phone. Does it have a safety feature to call 911? Familiarize yourself with that. It's, I think, a really cool tool, especially for when I was just recently on a trip for, like, if you're taking Uber or Lyft or a cab or something like that. If you don't want to, like, wait and have to call 911, you can just sit there with your finger on your power button, and if you're in an emergency, it takes you so much faster to push that button like 6 times and then just hope that, like, throw your phone and hope that you can hear something, than try to call 911 physically. Yeah. So it is a cool safety feature if it is used correctly. So just remember that. Make yourself aware of your device's emergency activations.
And if you are trying to make yourself aware and you do accidentally call 911, stay on the line.
Yes, please, 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 please.
Tell me it's an accident.
100%. We'll go into why that's so important to just stay on the line and tell us it's an accident. We're not going to send cops to your house. We're not going to fine you $1 million unless you're abusing the 911 system, unless you're prank calling. We will send officers to your, like, there's circumstances in which, but if you just tell us it was an accident. Yeah. Oh, thank God. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's very much appreciated by all centers everywhere, I'm sure. When Apple Watches first became a thing, I know in my last center it was a huge problem that there were so many hang-ups because of that. Was that a problem here?
Yeah, because there was something where, I don't wear them, but the button was where someone's wrist would bend, and if they would keep it up, it would, and you like press and hold it, and it would do that, and so people wouldn't even know that they, they're out running or lifting weights or whatever.
Right. I think now when I last looked it up, you have to like do whatever with the button and then slide across the screen or something like that. Don't quote me on it because, again, I just barely remembered how to use my own phone. So it's a learning experience for all of us here. Something that people don't realize that actually calls into 911 is their disconnected cell phone that they have from 10 years ago that they threw into a bin, and now they're letting their child play with it because it doesn't have minutes on it. It doesn't work. It has no service on it anymore. It just doesn't work, right?
Doesn't work. Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
It works in only one way,
which
calling
is
us
to save your life.
Yes.
So if you are in a situation in which you don't have access to your phone and you have access to a disconnected cell phone, as long as it has a battery and a SIM card, you can reach out to 911. Pretty marvelous. But don't give it to your child unless you take the battery and the SIM card out.
Yes.
Basically, that's it. It's just another safety feature for that's about it, your safety. Also, something that happens is like those like track phones or something that you have to put minutes on, or if you haven't paid your phone bill and they disconnected your service and you try to dial out like just a random number, you're trying to call your mom and you're like, I know my mom's number. It's not going to call your mom, it's going to call 911. So keep that in mind, because that happens too, where people are like, well, I was just trying to call this number, and I'm like, well, I can see that your phone number is coming up as a disconnected phone, so I wouldn't be calling you back in the first place.
Right. If you, I was thinking like,
yeah,
like, how does that work?
It doesn't work. If somehow you stay on the line, you're just like, Ma?
Yeah. Hey.
And I'm like, no, this isn't your mother. Or is it?
Wait, is it?
Cass,
Could it be?
Cass, is that you? I'm just kidding. My dog does not use a phone. Hopefully.
You never know.
But yeah, it will call into 911. Just another safety feature.
And we can, I'm so sorry.
No,
go
ahead.
We can see which cell phone company that it's associated with. So sometimes I will say, you have to contact Verizon or AT&T and have them help you set it up.
Yeah.
Which you should already be aware of that, but...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
As I, just briefly touched on, 2 seconds ago, when disconnected cell phone numbers come into us, it's not a regular phone number. The area code comes in as 911, and then whatever 7 numbers that follow that. But no matter what, it's going to be 911 for the area code. And because it starts with 911, if we call it back, we're literally calling ourselves back, which we've all made that mistake. Yep. So it's just kind of funny to hear someone scream in the room, "Don't answer that, it's me!"
Yeah.
So, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
But, so we will be able to see that. And I think we might have talked about that in a different... It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Good reminder.
I don't know what we're talking about. This doesn't really happen too much because of touchscreens, but I know those Jitterbug phones. Oh, sure. Or, any phones have, a keyboard. Yep. I was going to say pad.
It's a keypad, yeah.
It is a keypad. I don't really know of any phones, modern phones that have keypads.
You mean cell phones or
yeah.
landlines? Yeah, although, no. There was...
I'm not familiar with anything besides my iPhone, basically.
I can't think of any... Yeah, if you needed, a flip... I feel like flip phones are the only ones that would do it, and even now, some flip phones are still touchscreens, so... Right. I can't think of anything else.
But just think back in the day when you had, an old phone that had, a keypad.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. Let's go with it.
There are still phones like that. I understand that. My dad literally refuses to change to anything besides his phone.
Ditto.
Love him to maybe death. I'm just kidding. I love you, Dad.
I do love you.
Please don't listen to this. So, if you push too many buttons, your phone's going to be like, wow, you're in distress. I'm going to call 911. Again, it's just another safety feature.
Yep.
So, that might be a way that it gets pushed. Oh my god. There goes my spit. I'm choking on it now.
At least you covered your cough.
Yes, so you don't get the coronavirus. This joke is going to be so outdated when this episode comes out, so it's going to be even funnier.
People will be like, wait, what?
Wait, oh no, it's coming back. Please don't freak out. We're recording this in March, FYI. It's probably... Yeah. Anyways, I just thought of a way that if... So say your phone somehow gets unlocked in your pocket, and you somehow have your keypad board, those buttons that you push to dial up, somehow it gets pushed and your phone thinks that you're dialing, that could be a way that it happens. Should we test that out too?
Yeah, as long as it makes a loud sound, that's perfect.
I don't think so. Should we have warned them that we're just going to start calling 911?
And telling people if you test.
Do not test. Please don't. I'm telling you the possibilities of how this can happen.
So, so you don't have to test.
Yeah, exactly. Do not test this out. So, if you push too many buttons, that happens on disconnected, on cell phones, and even, landlines. Yeah. It's just a safety feature because the phone basically is thinking, the things you're typing onto my keypad are not a phone number. You must need help.
You are obviously having a medical issue.
Right.
And I will help you.
Or you're just attacking the phone hoping to push the right numbers because someone's attacking you. I don't know. Wow. Please don't hate me for trying to make light of subjects that we deal with every day. So, there's that.
That's, yes.
Also, my favorite, the butt dial.
Butt dialing.
Or my favorite, the booty call.
Oh.
Ooh. I don't know if I can use that joke or not, but we'll see.
Don't see why not.
Okay. Erica said so.
Yeah.
Remember
Approved.
that? Then. So, I've already talked about it, but I just wanted to make that joke. If you have your phone in your pocket, it will dial into 911 sometimes, given the circumstances we've listed before.
And I've had all kinds of body parts.
Oh, no.
Call in.
Please tell me more.
This one lady said... She was a
story.
Yeah, she was at a gas station and you could hear and you're like, what is that? That's obvious, it's in a pocket or whatever. And I call her back and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, it was a boob dial. She's like, I put it between my breasts and while I'm pumping gas. And I was like, things you don't need to explain.
Yeah. Okay. So if we call you back and you answer and you say, oh, sorry, it was a butt dial. That makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing me that information that I did not need to know. Just tell me it was an accident and that you do not need emergency services. I don't need a large explanation as to why this happened or how your day's going. Although if we're not busy, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. But if we're busy, your explanation of sorry it was an accident is plenty enough for me.
I'll take it.
As long as you're not crying or seem like you're in distress or something, I'm going to take your word for it. Yeah. And I have it on a recorded line, so do not sue me. So I believe that those are the ways that 911 can be quote-unquote accidentally dialed in. Do you think, can you think of any other situations?
Only in landlines, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit later, but and you're in a very large facility, college, campus, hospital, and you dial 911, and you're like, wait a second, did I dial 1 already? Because I need to get out. I'm pretty sure I have to dial 1. And then you dial it again, it's going to ring into us. So we might surprise you sometimes if you're at a large facility, you have to dial 911 to get out.
Right. And sometimes we're not even going to be surprising you because the number that you're calling from is probably like the front desk or like just a main phone line. So when we call back, the front desk person's like, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I can't track where that phone actually came from. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Sometimes rooms are have individual phone numbers. It's just kind of funny when we call into large businesses. And I'm like, I know that this didn't come from the front desk, but I have to call it back and hope that they can figure out what's going on. Yep. Which also brings us to the next topic is calling back 911 hang-ups or abandons. I'm just going to generalize them as hang-up calls, so keep that in mind. Okay. As long as it's not a disconnected cell phone, we will call back every single phone call that comes in, which we will cover in a little bit is a lot. It's just for your safety, because I don't know why you were calling us and hanging up. My assumption is if you call 911, you are in danger. And that's what your phone is thinking too, so that's why your phone is trying to save your life as well for your butt dials. Just keep that in mind. Please do not get frustrated with me or mad at me because I'm calling you. I don't want to make you feel like I'm stalking you or like picking on you, or if it's a scam call or something like that, you know, because some people get angry. They think it's a prank or they think it's a scam. It's like, I literally am just trying to see if you're okay. Yeah.
Or people will say, my phone didn't call you. And the only way I can call you is because that number called me. Right.
I don't just sit here at my desk looking at the phone book like, which one am I going to call now?
Do you have an emergency?
Do you have an emergency? This is how we're really solving crime here. Yes. We're the vigilante. We're the Batman. Or the Batwomen. Yes. And man.
That's people.
Yeah, Bat people. Universal. Yes. We're the Bat people of Loveland. But you might be confused because for whatever reason you didn't realize your phone called 911. It's fine. Just know that I'm not just calling you because I want to call you. Calling you because I'm genuinely concerned about your safety because your phone called into us. Yep. Yeah. Is that it? Okay. Is what I said in the beginning too harsh? About people getting mad.
No, because sometimes you do.
They do get mad.
Or they're just confused. Like, they're like, wait, what? No, I didn't. Right. Like, not combative, but like argumentative.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I totally understand. Like, if I just got a random phone call from a person saying, oh, this is 911 and do you have an emergency? I'd probably be confused too. Yeah. But since I know the system, I'd be like, oh, it was an accident. Yeah. But just also keep in mind, as we've said before, all of our phone calls are recorded. Yes. So if you really have an issue with it, you can go to whatever department and get our phone records.
Yeah, contact our records department.
Or you can go into your phone log and look and see that you called 911.
That works too, yeah. It was 30 seconds long while I was trying to determine it was in your pocket.
Right. So if you call in accidentally or intentionally on 911 and there's an open line, we treat those like any other 911 call. If we hear an active emergency, such as a disturbance or someone yelling for help, we will do our best to find your location if you can't get to your phone and dispatch the services that you need. You know, there's times where people are in a situation where they get pulled away from their phone, or if they have like some kind of pendant or something that calls directly into us and somehow it gets away from them and they're yelling for help. There's a various amount of situations that can happen in which somebody would need to, need's not the way to go with this, what I'm trying to say. God, I hate myself. Edit it out. Basically, if we hear something going on that needs our attention, we will help you.
Yes.
As long as... Not as long as. I'm done talking now.
If it's suspicious, we'll investigate.
Yeah, we'll investigate. We will get as much help as we can to you.
Yes.
So if there's an open line and we hear nothing, absolutely nothing, we're probably just going to clear that out as an accidental if we make no voice contact. Of course, if there's an open line, we hear nothing, we'll probably wait for a few seconds. I like to activate our, as we talked about before, our talking impaired, take two, our hearing impaired service that we use called TDD. I like to activate that because it's very loud and obnoxious, and usually it gets people's attention to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on, and then they hang up, and then I'll call you, so then I know that you're probably going to answer because you just had your phone in your hands and you hung up on me. So if that happens to you, that was my fault. Sorry, not sorry.
I will also do it, so it's one of our faults.
Woo!
Yep.
Yay! I'm sure we're not the only ones that do that.
No.
But yeah, that's what happens. We also, not only do we call back every 911 hang-up that comes in, but we log every single one that comes in. That's just for our purposes, for our records, for your safety as well. If for some reason you call in, and you've called in on 911 before, it was an accident, that's totally fine, but you call in again and for some reason wait, I'm going to reverse this. Hold on a second. So you've called in before on 911 on that same phone number, and you've needed help for whatever, your address. You call in again, it's an open line, we hear a disturbance, we can look through your phone number to see any calls have been previously associated with you. I can look and see, oh, this address is previously associated with this phone, so I can use that to possibly use as a tool to get you help, hoping that you're in that location, which I can confirm with with our phase 2, which is the location that we get with your phones. We can confirm with other services that we have as well. Also, so we can log 911 abuse, because it is a thing. It's very sad and not fun. Yep.
Yeah. And it can be intentional, like you're messing with us, or it can be unintentional. We've had instances where people won't fix their settings or whatever, so it keeps ringing into us, and they know that it's happening, but they won't do anything about it, and we still go out and check on them because we've gotten so many, we're concerned, and it still continues to happen, so we can, you can get a ticket for abuse of 911. So.
Right. Which we have to have a lot of calls in order to prove that you're abusing the system, and not just one phone call.
Right.
For the record.
Yes, right. And not even just 2 or 5 or 10 sometimes, it's
quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, like I said before, it is proof that we're not just calling you for the fun of it.
Right.
We log it all so that we have something that covers us just in case there is an issue in the future.
Yes.
This also leads us to, I'm sure, something that you're a bit concerned about based on what we've been talking about is when to send for help and when not to send for help. Not unfortunately, but depending on the circumstances, it just depends. It's dispatcher discretion.
Yeah.
We will always err on the side of caution if we need to send someone. If we feel like something's off, if you call and hang up and we call back and you say, oh, it was an accident, but you're crying and I hear yelling in the background.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably try to press you for more information, but you're probably not going to give it to me because you're already telling me that it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try everything I can to keep you on that phone line with whatever I can think of to try to get some kind of help or information that I could use for my responders. But if you don't feel safe enough to do so, we will talk about resources for how you can do that in the future if you cannot talk on 911, which is text to 911, so plug into the future episode. Where was I going with this?
Discretion?
Yeah. So, yeah, if that situation happens, I'm going to send you help.
Yeah.
Because something's going on and my conscience will not let me not send somebody. Right. Also, if that was you would want me to send somebody.
Definitely.
Right. So I'm also going to get into some really cool numbers here.
Numbers.
I'm going to get so nerdy. You guys are going to love it. Also, I went through and I spent probably a good hour counting some numbers the other day. And as I said, we're recording this in March, so things might be a little outdated by the time this comes out. We're trying to just record as much as in advance as we can, just because Erica and I are not opposite schedules. There's a lot of trainings going on. There's a lot of things going on at the center right now. Huge changes going on. So we're just trying to stay on top of it so that we can give you guys your episodes every 2 weeks, like we said. So, into the numbers. So we get, like I said, a lot of 911 hang-up calls, and we get a lot of abandoned calls. So we pulled some statistics from 2019 for our call volume. Unfortunately, I did not count all of these individually. I just have what's in front of us. So we have a logged number of calls, a logged number of 911 calls that have come into our center for all of 2019. Unfortunately, I can't tell if those ones are the hang-up ones because, like I said, they come in, they get all the way through to our system and we answer it. So once it answers, it gets logged as a 911 call. So I can't tell that as a different 911 call that we actually sit on the line with, if that makes sense to everybody. So incoming 911 calls that we actually answered that you may or may not have hung up on us, for all of 2019, guys, this is outrageous. I mean, in a good way sometimes. Yeah. It's just a crazy number for me to wrap my head around. 37,195. Wow. Just for 911s. That's how many 911 calls we handled all of last year.
That's crazy.
It's so wild. And of that 37,195, the number of abandoned calls, which is the ones that you disconnect before we answer, is 4,936. That's honestly just so crazy to me. I'm going to try to figure out the math for that real quick. How many did I say it was? 4,900?
Yeah, sure.
Something like that. I don't think that math's right.
Did you flip it.
Gosh, dang it. 13% of our calls were abandoned.
Crazy.
That's wild. That's almost 20%. That's how much you should be tipping your waitress. And so we had a total of 42,000 calls on 911. Just over 42,000 calls. Just 911 alone. That's not counting our admin lines.
Yeah.
Which we get more of.
A lot more.
Yeah, a lot more of. So that's wild to me. So I went and counted all of the ones that we've done so far for this year. Wow, what am I doing with my phone?
Hopefully not calling 911.
Not right now.
Good.
I might in a couple of seconds here. So in January this month, incoming 911 calls, which is just all of them, is 2,875. January of 2020, we handled 2,875 911 calls. And of that number, 433 were abandoned. And so that makes a total of 3,308 calls of all of January. So I went and counted a little bit deeper. So of those incoming calls, the 2,875, 833 of them were 911 hang-ups. So basically, we handled full calls from beginning to end, 2,000 of them. That's wild. Wild. So into February, we got in 2,896. Also, February is a shorter month, and we handled more calls in February than January. Think about that for a second. Of those, 399 were abandoned, so we total did 3,295. But of the 2,896 911 calls that we got in, 795 of those were 911 hang-ups. Yes, I counted those. Let me say one more time. I spent so long counting them.
So long.
So as of today, which is this is the best day. It's Friday the 13th.
Yay.
I love it. It's my favorite day of March. So as of, technically it was probably like the 11th when I counted all of these. So as of a couple of days ago, we had we had 1,114 911 calls that have come into our center so far this month. It's not a full month yet, and we're almost halfway to our other numbers for the other months. Of those, we have had 178 abandoned calls, and we've had 296 911 hang-up calls. So, not as much, but we still got time.
Yeah,
we still got time to get there.
We'll catch up.
So that's a lot of calls. That's a lot of abandoned calls, especially. So just think, if we actually sent out a police officer for every single one of those calls that we had, we wouldn't have officers for the streets.
Yeah.
Like, we just simply do not have the manpower. And so that's where we lean so heavily on dispatcher discretion. You know, we hope that open line doesn't actually mean that somebody can't talk to us. So that's why I'm saying, if you can't talk to us, we have a service that is provided for you. Text to 911. There's other services too for the hearing impaired. Just make yourselves aware of what services you have to help you if you're in a situation in which you can't talk. Yeah, because the manpower that that is just insane.
Yeah, we'd be overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed, and I'm sure the officers would be exhausted.
Yeah.
Running called like they're doing already.
Yep.
The policy in my last agency was a bit wild because we sent on every single one of those 911 hang-up calls. But if we... Here's the thing. Let me put down my phone.
Getting serious.
I've got to focus here. I have to make sure that I'm explaining this correctly. So your 911 call comes in, you hang up before I get a location on your phone. I call you back, you do not answer. I don't have a location for you are. We use our other service called Rapid SOS. I don't have a location for that, so what do we do next? Our policy was to call your service provider and see if we can get subscriber information. Usually because we're calling from a 911 center and we say that this phone called 911, they don't just give us your information. So just know that if I call Verizon and I say this phone number called us, they literally check the logs of that phone number to verify that it actually called 911 before they give us that information. Because if I say they called 911 and they don't see it in the logs, they're not going to give it to us. So just use that to like calm your minds that we're not just calling Verizon trying to stalk you or anything. But that was our policy, and it sometimes takes a long time to get through to those call centers that take that information for Verizon or AT&T or any of those large service providers. Sometimes I was on hold for like 15 minutes. It's insane. So you're tying up a phone line for somebody that I'm not gonna say should, that also needs help. And I'm not saying that you don't need help.
Right.
If, we have all these platforms and stuff, but just keep that in mind for other centers that do things like that, because there's a lot of work that goes into those 911 calls sometimes, because they want to make sure that they're covering every possible situation that they can. We just simply don't have the manpower to do that here. They weren't as busy as we are. They aren't as populated as we are. So there was that time in which we were able to do that. We here physically cannot do it.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of work. That's why we ask you so kindly to stay on the line, because you can save us a lot of time. You can save our responders a lot of time. Because if there's something in my heart that tells me that something's off, but you really don't have an emergency, I just heard something in the background that sounded weird, you might get somebody at your house that could have been helping with something else that was emergent at the time.
Yeah.
So if you hang up on a landline, we're going to send regardless, because it's a little bit more difficult to call 911 on a landline. You don't carry that thing around in your back pocket.
Right.
Is that possible?
Yeah, if you have a cordless phone.
If you have a cordless phone.
But
Here we go.
Okay, guys, here we go.
Just going to put it in the back pocket.
We will, if we don't make voice contact,
right.
we will send.
Right.
Yes, we will still try calling you back, because there might be a child playing on the phone, or
right.
you were cleaning it. I don't know. Do you clean a cordless phone? Or a corded one?
You should clean it because of the coronavirus.
Yes.
So, sanitize your phones.
And then wash your hands.
Right. Which will get us into our next segment. Of calling 9 to get out of businesses such as hotels or just like large facilities such as that. So you have to dial 9 and then 911. Correct?
Yes.
Can that be an issue?
Super big issue.
And I feel like it's something that's really popping in the 911 community lately.
It is. Can I tell you about it?
I would love to hear about it.
So, say you're an adult and you're at a hotel and you're like, oh, I need an ambulance. And you read the sign and it says, dial 9 to get out, and then dial 911. You say, okay, great. I can do this. What if you're a kid?
Yeah.
You're reading signs? No.
Depending.
I mean, you might. But in small print in a hotel, you're with your mom and dad, something's happening, you're not going to be reading a sign. So there was an issue where there was a young child in a hotel room with her mom, and her mom was getting beat up by her dad. Like, he was going to kill her, kind of beat up. And she tried calling 911. It's a 9-year-old girl, I believe, young child, dials 911 repeatedly, multiple times, not just once or a couple times, multiple times, trying to get 911 to come help her mom. She was in a hotel. She had to dial 9 to get out, and she didn't know that. So her dad ended up killing her mom, and her mom's name was Kari, and there's now Kari's Law. And edit this out. I'm trying to find her last name, but I can't find it. So we now have Kari's Law, which is for MLTS phones, which is multi-line telephone systems. So for hotels, college campuses, big facilities, it's now mandated by law that they have to update their phone system to be able to dial 911 by just those 3 numbers and not dialing 9 to get out. The law is named for Kari Hunt, who was killed in 2013 by her estranged husband in a hotel in Texas. Her 9-year-old daughter, Brianna, tried to call 911, but she couldn't because of the requirement to have to dial 9 to get out. So Kari's dad decided that he wanted to petition Congress to make this a law, that they would have to change it. And I think it's really important, because it's not just adults that dial 911. If we are teaching our kids that they have to know this and understand what will happen if they do call 911 when they have an emergency and it fails them, it fails a bunch of people, and literally lives are at stake if we can't access 911.
Right. It's really sad.
It is really sad.
Something like that had to happen in order for us to realize that.
Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunately with a lot of laws and
unfortunately
acts.
There's another we're going to get into this, I'm sure, with many other episodes with, like, different laws, such as Brock's Law, with 911, like, unfortunately, mass shootings. They have, unfortunately, paved the way of how we handle situations like that. And, you know, there's a good side and a bad side. It's a bad side that it had to happen, and it's a good side that we can be as prepared as possible for the next time that it happens. If, fingers crossed that it doesn't, you know, it's not something that we want to happen, but it's something that we do need to be prepared for.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that more in other episodes, but yeah, if you want to learn more about Kari's Law specifically, so you can educate yourself, or if you're just interested in her story, there's lots of stuff on Google, and just make sure you're educating yourself with the correct information. And also, we will tag a link into our description of the episode about Kari's Law specifically, and I believe that what I'm going to be tagging is from the government.
Oh, good.
Like, actual, like, law that they're trying to put in place for it. So it's going to be very law talky, but it'll make sense. Open it up, open the link, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm not very good about this. I'm looking at this hyperlink, and I can't tell what website it goes to, because it just says I can't even talk. It just says .gov, so that's all that matters,
FCC.
right?
Oh, yeah, and the Federal Communications Commission.
There we go.
I'm like, I would say Federal Trade Commission, definitely not that. FCC, yeah, and they're the ones that are, like, oversees all that 911 stuff. So
yeah, so we're going to be tagging a very reliable source of what's going on with that, and I believe when I was reading through it, there's another law that they're talking about that's kind of hand in hand with Kari's Law, so we might talk about that in another episode as well.
Yes.
But Kari's Law is very important to, I believe, this 911 situation, so I just wanted to touch on it. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we go?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. I know you have a hair appointment to go to, so we're going to hurry up here.
Yes, let's rush through it.
Okay,
so I can...
fast forward. Okay, we're done. Bye. Just kidding. Thanks, guys, for listening. Can you hear the tiredness in my voice? I can feel it.
I feel like your energy's a little tired now, too. Like,
you started talking, and I was like,
And you're like,
I'm
oh,
gonna go
boy.
to sleep.
Yep.
Sleep. So, again, thanks for listening. I appreciate it more than you could ever imagine, especially since we're still so new and I haven't even published any episodes.
Yes, but we appreciate you from the past.
Appreciate it from the past. Also subscribe, like we said in the beginning of this episode. Follow us on Facebook at Loveland Emergency Communications Center. Next time, yet another important topic, which we've touched on a lot today. It's oh my god.
She tired.
It's okay. Important topic. We've covered a lot. Text to 911. This next episode, I'm probably going to tongue twist that a week.
We're going to have to do
possible.
Red leather, yellow leather.
That's something that oh my gosh. I have 3 more sentences to get through.
You can do it.
That's something that not everyone is aware of, is a resource for an emergency that you can't talk in. Like we've talked about a lot in this specific topic, and I'm sure we'll talk about in others. I just thought that this was a very important thing to cover with one of the first few episodes, because it is so new, and it's something that even like friends that I have that are in their early 20s, they have no idea that this even exists. So it's not anything that's generationally missed. It's something that people just aren't aware of.
Yeah.
So we want to make you aware of it for those situations. We'll dive into it next time. Until then, know where you are, know your phone number, and tell us exactly what happened.